Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining us at our November meeting of the CPUN board and community meeting. My name is Amanda Alshouse, and I'll be taking us through a little while of this meeting. So we're going to start by just walking through the agenda. And the flow of the meeting tonight is that we'll have some updates from community partners. We're going to then, just to recap what I just said a second ago, then just go into board business. And I really encourage everyone who's on this call to stay on for that, because I'm calling it board business, but it's really where the heart of the work of this organization is, the committees, and ensuring that the committees have adequate participation from a range of members of the board, and talking about setting goals for the upcoming year and that sort of thing, which will actually happen over the month of July when we're on hiatus, and then we'll reconvene in August. Okay, Brian?
Amanda, do you want me to share?
Yes. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so there's the agenda, and that's I'd like to highlight right now that that second bullet point, or that second section there, community updates, has 3 bullet points. Our community partners, which are typically Denver Police and Councilman Herndon's office, and Northeast Transit Community Partners. And I think every time I get that wrong. Frequently we hear from the library. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to for a while, because they've realigned resources and won't be having the librarian who had been attending these meetings. She's no longer with Sam Gary for now, but hopefully that'll switch back in the future. And then Sand Creek Greenway and Mercy Housing. Then we will have updates from each of our committees before we get into a small break, and then realignment of our committees in the second part of the meeting. And we'll get into public comment before that break. Okay, next slide, please, Brian. Okay, so Central Park United Neighbors, this is our organizational meeting that we host monthly. We are the registered neighborhood organization, which is abbreviated RNO, for the Central Park community in Denver. Each Denver community has an RNO if residents have organized one. You can find them on the City of Denver's website. And so we're that organization for this community in Denver. Our purpose is to be a working forum for residents to participate in pursuing the vision of the neighborhood by creating, developing, and fostering a vibrant urban community dedicated to social equity, environmental responsibility, and economic opportunity. We promote public service, civil civic discourse, and we hope to achieve effective efficacy. And I'll also throw in that we are, so in this community, there are a lot of different organizations. The MCA is a separate entity. You have elected delegates that represent you with the MCA, and with CPUN, you have board members, and we're all volunteer, and there are no paid employees of CPUN, in contrast with the MCA, where they have paid employees in a building and facilities and that sort of thing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're just going to dive right into community updates now. And so I see Officer Jenkins is turning on her camera.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. So Lieutenant Hines is on vacation, so it's just me. Long time no talk. I was on vacation for a while, but I'm back. Just a few things for us. So violent crime and property crime are both down 13%, and then total crime is down 3%. So that is great news. As far as community events, we have our catalytic converter theft event this Saturday at Lincoln Tech.
Officer Jenkins, can I just pause you really fast? So you said that both are down. Can you add the time period that you're talking about?
28-day period.
Okay, thanks.
So the catalytic converter theft on this Saturday, the 19th, will be held from 9 to 1:00 p.m. at Lincoln Tech, and we will be etching the last 8 digits of a VIN number for you, and then painting it so that in the case that your catalytic converter is taken, if we recover it, we can get it back to you, but it also increases the likelihood of us charging that suspect with theft of your catalytic converter. So if you are interested, I will send Amanda the flyer where you can double click on the Eventbrite link and register your vehicle for that. And then we will be having the Safety Expo on July 17th. That'll be from 10 to 2, and that will be at the Northfield Mall, right in the middle across from Harkins. It's really about all I have for now. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Great. What sorts of things will be at the Safety Expo?
We'll have MAD there, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The fire department always brings safety equipment for kids to kind of go through a simulator if they were to ever encounter a fire. We'll have various vendors, Minchie's, Allstate, some of our Central Park Business Association folks there. We always have CSP, which is Colorado State Patrol, and a bunch of other various things. We're also going to be doing Dunk-A-Cop that day. So if you ever want to dunk your favorite command officer or the commander or Lieutenant Hines, stop by and do that. That'll be a fun time.
The commander is going to be one of the participants.
Well, fingers crossed. He hasn't 100% committed yet, but some command staff will be there. We'll try and get the chief or Deputy Chief Thomas there as well.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions for Officer Jenkins? All right. Well, thank you so much. And I know you just said click on the Eventbrite link. Did you place that in the, could you place that in the chat for this meeting for people to just have?
Yes, I will
And we-
copy it in the link in the chat for you guys.
Okay, and we've shared that with the community previously, but it'll be helpful to have it just handy right here. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, and if any other questions come up, please type them into the chat, and I will go on. I can see Eric Herbst from Northeast Transit Partners, so I will toss to him.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Eric Herbst with the Northeast Transportation Connections. It's okay. Amanda always gets it a little, it's a long name, so.
Completely wrong.
Don't worry about it. You're not the only one.
All right.
So we are a transportation nonprofit in the Northeast Denver region that includes Central Park neighborhood. So by that, I mean, we kind of deal with the commuter transportation. So getting to and from work, running errands. Basically, we try to reduce congestion, improve air quality, typically by working with businesses and developments to try to reduce that single occupant vehicle traffic that they have coming in every day. We do work kind of a little more with community as well. We like to have a lot of community events. We're actually getting kind of into the planning of Bike to Work Day, which was kind of originally is always in June, the 4th Wednesday in June, but this year, because of COVID, we pushed it back, so it's going to be in September. So I'll be reaching out to organizations and groups like CPUN to participate in that September Bike to Work Day event. So more on that as we get closer to September. We're trying to build kind of more confidence in riding RTD, riding the A-line, riding buses, and then also carpooling programs, just to get people kind of back to that level of comfort as things kind of move forward and opening up and people get vaccinated. There is a new dockless bike share system. Denver is finished with kind of the pilot phase of the dockless bike share system and scooter share system. So you guys might start seeing some, there are Lyft bikes and Lime bikes and scooters kind of in the area. What we've been told is that the bikes and scooters won't right away be rebalanced kind of out into the Central Park neighborhood, but people can get them and bring them out. Like you could get one if you see it and ride it out to anywhere in Denver, including the Central Park neighborhood. But the companies aren't necessarily rebalancing in Central Park quite yet. As they kind of phase in their new fleet, they will be rebalancing kind of more in Denver and throughout like every neighborhood in Denver. And then they kind of focus on like the A-line station, making sure people have some of the products there. Like if you get off a bus or the train, you have some of those bikes or scooters to get to your kind of final destination from there. So just know that you will start seeing probably more of those bikes and scooters in the neighborhood. And they are allowed kind of anywhere in Denver city and county at this point.
Sorry, Eric,
But-
did you say when that rebalancing is likely to happen?
We were kind of told that they're just slowly kind of phasing in their fleet numbers. So they're allowed, there's a cap on how many scooters they're allowed, but it's open-ended on the bikes. So they're trying to encourage the companies to bring more bikes into the city of Denver. They have like a minimum of how many bikes they have to have, but then they can bring in more bikes as needed. And that's to kind of incentivize them to bring the bikes for those longer trips, where the scooters are kind of more for those shorter trips, kind of downtown. But that's all we were told, was that they were going to phase it in over the coming months. So we'll start to see more of their products kind of on the streets and the sidewalks.
And Eric,
So-
you said, I heard you say in the city and county of Denver a couple of times in there. What are the agreements like with Commerce City for people getting from the A-Line station up to Dick's for events, or down into Aurora for like Stanley Marketplace and that sort of thing?
Right, yeah. This is strictly a contract with the city of Denver and these operators. So it's Lyft and Lime. So I don't believe that they have any agreements outside of the city of Denver. Especially, I'm pretty sure they don't have anything in Commerce City or with Aurora. It could be up to the business, like Stanley Marketplace or Dick's Sporting Goods could have like they could work with the company to have like a little geo-fenced kind of parking area. So if that's something that people are curious about, or kind of want to see more or like happen with like Stanley Marketplace and those venues, I would be willing to kind of reach out to those contacts you guys might have and try to get kind of a meeting with Lime and Lyft to maybe get that more of an option. I know Stanley Marketplace is kind of right on the border, so you may see like parking might be allowed on like 26th Ave, but not actually in at the Stanley Marketplace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
And then the other thing that kind of recently happened was the Denver TDM regulation. So that's the Denver Transportation Demand Management regulation. So that went into effect June 1st. We kind of mentioned it, I think, in the community forum last month, but it's basically kind of a tiered approach. So if there's a new development happening in Central Park, that development, if it's over a certain size, it kind of has more regulations with the city of Denver as far as getting their kind of that single occupant vehicle traffic down. And so they have to do things like think about like a shuttle system or car share system or bike parking or improved kind of transit stop at their location. So there's a kind of a long list of things that they could pick and choose, but that kind of went into effect just this month. And so any new developments going through that planning phase will start to have that regulation involved and approved with their development. So we're working closely with the city and developers to try to kind of help them kind of ease that process through so that it's just kind of more successful for the developments, for the neighborhood, and we can kind of reduce any unnecessary traffic that we don't need. Those are kind of the big things that I have to report. Our catalytic converter did get stolen off of our shuttle a couple of weeks ago. So I wish we would have had the etching service done last month. But want to incentivize or encourage everyone to do that because they're not cheap. And then that's all we have.
Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to the shuttle.
Yeah, it was a bummer, but we even have it like on videotape. We did a police report, but the people were on foot that did it. It took them like 10 minutes. They were super fast. It was like at midnight that it happened, and they were just gone. So yeah, if there's anything you guys can do, like do the etching and the painting, help try to not have this have like such a big issue and impact for a lot of people. So I appreciate the DPD kind of putting on that event.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Eric, I'm connecting you in an email off to the side, so you'll see that in a couple of minutes when I get that sent. Does anyone else have any questions for Eric? Brad, you looked like you wanted to say something along the way.
Oh, yeah. I was going to reach out to you afterwards, Eric, but I think if you want to collaborate with the Safe Streets Committee on the transportation demand management stuff at all, let us know. I think we're keenly interested in some of those same goals you have around reducing traffic and encouraging trips by walking and biking through the neighborhood. So I can reach out to you afterwards, though.
Okay, perfect. That would be great. Yeah, thanks.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, thanks. Let's see. I saw Amanda Schultz from City Council District 8. So I know she's here. So I will there. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Always good to see y'all. Our big announcement really is just the reminder that Bring Your Own Bags starts on July 1st. And I'm sure there will be a ton of giveaways around the city, but make sure that you remember that. Otherwise, you will be reminded when you go to check out with plastic or paper ones. And that's not just at grocery stores, it's at all retail locations. So even if you're over at Home Depot or anything like that, it'll apply there. So just remember to start bringing your own bags July 1st.
Amanda, are there any resources you can point people to or that we can pass on to the community on that topic?
In terms of bag giveaways, is that what you're asking about?
Potentially, or just sort of information about that new ordinance there.
Yeah, I would say the city's Office of Climate is actually the best resource for that. They're going to have a ton of information in terms of what it applies to, along with a list of locations where you can get bags. We have some that we're distributing to some locations throughout the district. If you know anybody in particular who's really in need, let us know, send them our way. But I would say the city's Office of Climate is the best place to go for everything related to that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Does someone from our familiar with what we have available online want to speak about any bags that might have CFUND's logo on them? Mark Maringer.
Mark, do we have CFUND bags? Yeah.
I'll talk about it. So, I mean, Mark and I looked into it. Essentially, what it came down to is it wasn't practical to participate in that now. In regards to really getting bags that people would be interested in, you really got to order at least 1,000. It's a huge lead time, like 3 months or more, because they're done overseas. And the reality is, if you do a smaller amount, it was just a lot more expensive per bag. So we basically decided to shelve it for now, although the timing would have been great. But maybe in the future we'll be able to do something that's a little more practical.
Hey, Jeff, could we put it on the store? Was that an option? I don't remember seeing it, but is that an option?
Mark would have to confirm. But
Oh,
Mark,
on the store. Mark confirmed it's on the store. So Mark,
okay, so there's some in the store then too.
Great. All right. Oh yeah, I can see. So there's a tote bag there, but not like the typical grocery bag. We've gone around about each of our favorite bag styles. No need to dive into them now. Okay. Thank you for going into the production issues with the grocery bags, Jeff. Okay. So neighborhood partners. Is there anyone else who is here to speak on behalf of a neighborhood partner organization who's not otherwise bulleted on the agenda?
Hi, my name is Michelle Graham here from the Urban Farm. I jumped in a few minutes late, so I'm not sure if I was on that agenda or not, but I did reach out last month to speak.
Sure. Do you just a couple of minutes? Go right ahead.
All right. Sorry if that wasn't formal enough, but am I able to share my screen? Is that possible? I don't see that option.
Sorry again, I'm sorry, what was your name? I'll make you a host and you can share.
Thanks, Brian. My name is Michelle Graham. I'm the executive director from the Urban Farm. I requested to speak
Yep,
at your next neighborhood association meeting.
Michelle, I'm looking for you on the participant list.
Graham, Graham.
Michelle, Brian.
Thanks, Amanda. Yeah.
Why can't I find her? Amanda, can you make
I
her
don't
a
think
co-host?
I'm not a host.
Yes, you are.
I can mute her. I can stop her video. I can
Oh,
rename
I'm
her.
sorry. I found her. Never mind.
Okay.
She was at the top. Try to share now, Michelle.
All right. I'm gonna multitask and try to share while I also start speaking to preserve everyone's time. My name is Michelle Graham. I'm the new executive director from the Urban Farm. I say new in as of, there we go, share screen. That one. November 2019, but with the year we've had, it is still new to me because this was definitely not a traditional year. So for those of you that are not familiar with the Urban Farm is a nonprofit organization located over on Smith Road. We are on 23 acres of Parks and Rec land, and we have a cooperative agreement with the Parks and Rec City of Denver to operate our nonprofit there, which strives to provide opportunities for youth and community to learn and participate in agriculture. My personal background is in horticulture specifically and food justice work, and that has been quickly being incorporated into the Urban Farm's plan and progress. That being said, the Urban Farm has been on this site since 1995, and there is still a lot to be done. However, we've come a long way, at least in what I've seen in a year and a half. And over this year, we have been working on a master plan on how to improve our property and how to really strategize our improvements, some of which have already come up in this meeting today, such as security. We also had a catalytic converter stolen from our truck not too long ago. So the Denver Parks and Rec has requested that I do engage with your neighborhood association, and I value that as well, to see that we incorporate your wants and needs and have your support behind this master plan that we've been working on. And just to go over it quickly, in the time that I have, we partnered with this University of Denver Institute for Human Animal Connection, as well as Denver Parks and Rec, to inform our resource management, as well as best animal care best practices. Out on the Urban Farm, we have over 100 animals, so it's important that we are incorporating those best practices as we develop the acreage that we are not yet using, as well as the acreage we have. As I said, I'm going to skim through this very quickly, but a lot of this master plan is seeing how we want to incorporate elements of regenerative agriculture, pasture management into our property, as well as really be smart about water use and native plantings. I'm not sure if you're familiar with burdock, but it has taken over this piece of property, and we really have to work on getting a more diverse and healthy plant population out there at the Urban Farm. Since 2019, we have established a 1 acre vegetable garden, as well as a freight farm. Those are large food production operations, meaning our freight farm is a shipping container that can produce up to 900 pounds of food a month. That is all being donated to local food pantry and partners. Further, we are looking to expand into and really cultivate this land that's currently barren. All of this, similar to Central Park, was old, unused weather station. We're technically on what was the old weather station. And this, during the development of Central Park, this was used as a construction zone. We finally got our last pile of rubble moved out of the property last year alone. So we are reclaiming soil, reclaiming land, and creating green space. So a lot of our master plan is looking at how we can continue to manage this land properly so that it can thrive and also serve our community. To go into a few key places, we're looking at how animal living spaces, what's the best practices, how we can raise local food for our local restaurants, for our local community to have an on-site market in a sustainable and responsible way, as well as things such as security. And I'll scroll down real quick down to that. So I mentioned grazing improvements, horticultural improvements, which we've already taken on this year, ecological improvements. So how do we grow more trees out there and incorporate, there's a product of, or a method of silvopasture, which is raising pastured animals in trees and among them, which is a quite responsible way to do so. But also, how does the public actually circulate through our property? Where benches should be located, where should trees be located to create an enjoyable space, what signage we should have. We're looking to print our new signage by this quarter, complete with Spanish interpretation as well as QR codes to videos and more extensive educational opportunities for our public. So that's included on our wayfinding, as well as defining paths. Since we are a working farm, we have paths for tractors, paths for people, paths for horses, and really making that intuitive. Just as if you walk through the botanical gardens, you know naturally where you should or should not walk as a pedestrian. And we really want to create that space so that it is an enjoyable space for our community to explore safely. So looking at how we can improve our fencing. So really acknowledging how different fencing can be used to identify space and security. And that does continue into where do we need additional security, from lighting to visibility, and as well as with the communities, the warehouses, Central Park growing, Sand Creek growing, we really need additional security on the farm. As I mentioned, we have 30 horses on site. We have experienced crime on site, and both for the safety of pedestrians as well as our assets, that's important that we address moving forward. So all of these, I'm just trying to cover as quickly as possible, are in our master plan and trying to be addressed one step at a time. And a large barrier to a lot of these projects are irrigation. As we all are very aware today, it is hot out in Colorado. We are a city, a desert disguised as a city, and we need to be able to expand our equestrian and pasture land for our animals. We need that water irrigation on site to expand that. And yeah, so these are all keystone projects in how we can improve our property at the urban farm to be really an asset to the city, an example for how urban regenerative agriculture can serve our community. And these are some of our keystone projects that we're looking in now. Currently, this is one that's most in process. We have one greenhouse up, we're looking for another. We're looking to improve our entryway to really make it a highlight of the city of Denver, not what currently stands as a metal fence, left over from airport security and so forth. But really what I'm asking for right now is support of this master plan. And I understand that this was a very, very quick presentation. I'm happy to share this with your board. And
yeah, is it available on the Urban Farms website?
Not yet, because we actually wanted to get the support of our community partners before we made that public.
Oh, I see. Okay. Are there any longer sessions where this is going to be presented for like community feedback?
So this would be one of the steps. We welcome the feedback now. We can make some changes moving forward. We did invite several different organizations to participate throughout this past year, but we can continue that process now. So this is just the start of that conversation with you all. And I wanted to share it with you, and then we can collect that possibly digitally if that works best, since that seems how we're still working right now in these days.
Okay. I don't know that I'd have any feedback based on the presentation tonight. I know that I've emailed Scott Gilmore a number of times over the years saying that the urban farm needs bike racks.
We also emailed Scott Gilmore a number of times over the last year, and he just told me last month that I should email you. So I think they're a little overworked. I know they are stretched thin at Parks and Rec. So, and to be very honest, our touch point at the city Parks and Rec just retired in April. So we were kind of left in limbo for a little over here. So we're trying to play catch up and really re-engage after the year that we've had.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, maybe just send us an email with the master plan in it, and we'll go through, and maybe a handful of us can give some feedback. You know, we try not to speak on behalf of I would rather gather community feedback on the document. We can give feedback as a board, but I feel like we would be more successful in bringing the community in to engage and give feedback, especially the neighbors that, you know, you can see the houses right there in the background on, you know, if there are any impacts that they might see, that sort of thing. But yeah, send it over, and then we can keep the conversation going. What's the timeline on the feedback that you're seeking at this time?
As soon as possible at this point, because we really don't want to make it public until we incorporate that community feedback that we have. We did speak with the MCA, Sand Creek, Bluff Lake, and our community participants. Sunny's, I'm trying to think of the other neighborhoods as well. Unfortunately, we did start this right at the height of pandemic, like right when everything locked down. So that really impacted how we proceeded. However, we were stuck in a contract for 1 year. So now we will extend our contract to incorporate feedback as required. But to be honest, a lot of this is not set in stone, this document. It is a, you know, blueprint so that we can continue, and every project will incorporate additional community feedback, to be honest, like how we build fencing, what's our next capital improvement, so forth. And some of these are I don't think many would be opposed to additional lighting, for example, at night, for the safety of our animals and the safety of our staff, for example, because currently there's none. But other things I definitely see that the community would like to see and be involved in those decisions. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to send this over if you provide me the best address, which email I should send to, or multiple emails.
I think if you just send to Central Park United Neighbors at gmail.com, that'll get to Brian, who will circulate it to the rest of the board.
Okay, I can do that again.
Michelle, will you put your contact information in the chat, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. And so let's see, we have back up to the agenda, Brian. So I think that our next, Sand Creek Regional Greenway is our next presenter.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. It won't take up too much of your time. I'm mostly here to introduce myself. As far as I'm aware, most of y'all are aware of at least the Sand Creek Greenway, and hopefully also of the Sand Creek Regional Greenway Partnership. We've been a part of the community for 21 years and continue to be a part of the community. Recently, Beth Nobles, our executive director for almost 4 years, retired and moved back home out east and is living the best life, watching all the birds and the pretty flowers out there. And so I have stepped into the interim position role. I've been with Sand Creek for a little under 2.5 years in various ways, and I'm happy to facilitate where we're currently at in the organization. Just a quick refresher on what we do. We act as a partnership and a voice between the 3 cities, so between Aurora, Denver, and Commerce City. And we're also a midway point for a lot of the community to ask questions about the trail and greenway that may not get answered through city communication, or that we may be able to help expedite that communication for. One thing, bringing that up, that I would like to make everybody aware of is that the city and county of Denver has started the paving project on the greenway. It is set to be completed of fall 2022. When that is completed, the greenway is technically done, which was the goal of this partnership 21 years ago. Currently, there is a detour on Reach 2A. So that is off of Central Park. That detour will take individuals who are on the trail, off of the trail on Central Park, over to Yosemite, Quebec, and then back onto the greenway. It's a similar detour that we had a few years back when another park close to Central Park was closed down. So that is something that I would hope that I can share comfortably with all of y'all in case anybody comes to you and has questions for that. I hope to update you frequently upon that. In addition to offering knowledge on detours and other trail maintenance, we also offer volunteer opportunities. I've been working with Jeff to reach out to your board and offer your board a volunteer opportunity on August 14th at the Smith Road Trailhead. The way a lot of environmental volunteer opportunities work out, especially with the Greenway and our partnerships, we don't technically know the project that will be completed until 2 or 3 weeks out. It's really dependent on what the land needs at that time. However, we are pretty confident that the time will be from 10 a.m. to noon, again on August 14th. And I welcome all of y'all to join. Currently, the restrictions on group size is 15. By the time August 14th gets here, potentially that will be bigger, but we're currently at a restriction of 15 for our volunteer services. And then just to continue to update you on what our partnership does, in addition to volunteer opportunities, we also offer educational opportunities for really the whole community, but our bread and butter is youth. We focus on age 4 to 17, and we also have internship opportunities for ages 18 to 25. These are opportunities to build a more diverse stewardship for our land when we move forward. We hope that the Greenway can continue to be a resource for our communities, and that's completed through encouraging stewardship and activity on the Greenway through volunteerism and educational opportunities. I know that's a bit of a rush, but looking at your agenda, I don't want to keep up too much of your time. If you do have any quick questions, either about the volunteer opportunity or the projects and activities that we offer as a partnership, I welcome them.
Thank you,
Just
Mo.
have a quick note.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just had a quick note because I looked at the date, August 14th, and that is, at least for McAuliffe, a locker setup day. And normally we have Chris Herman and there's a whole parade. So there are going to be a lot of parents and children who are not going to be available on that date. So I just wanted to point that out just in case there's a possibility of changing that date and having more availability of people to volunteer.
What's the event called, Sandra?
Every year, well, you know, not last year, but the day before, the weekend before school starts is when children get their schedules and they're able to set up their lockers and bring their books to school. And it usually starts with a bike parade from Founders Green all the way down to McAuliffe. And there's usually, you know, about 100 different bikes. There's a huge welcoming festival down there. So, and I don't know what other schools do the weekend before school starts, but I know that anyone associated with McAuliffe probably will not be available on that day.
Thanks, Sandra. Mo, you and I can circle back on that, figure out if there's a different day, perhaps. For anyone interested in working on this project, CPUN Sustainability Committee will be organizing it from our organization's end. If you want to learn more about the committee and when we meet and get in touch with us, you can find that on centralparkunitedneighbors.com.
Amanda, we can't hear you.
Amanda, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had a child come in the house and start announcing his presence, so I muted myself. So the Family Bike Parade on McAuliffe's website is listed as 9 to 1, and then Amanda Schultz wrote into the chat that's also the Family Bike Parade. Just Amanda, are you saying that there is a bike parade that's planned for this year? I'm going to take that as yes.
Hi, sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself. Trying to have good Zoom etiquette. Yes, as of right now, the plan is for the 14th. We're still waiting for confirmation. Sorry, it's so late. COVID year. Normally we would do it the week prior because that would make it a Denver Days event, and that is what it normally has been. We do the Family Bike Parade starting at the Green, ending at McAuliffe with a big community celebration, which is open to everyone. It's not just for families at McAuliffe. So we had to move it this year in order to be aligned with the adjusted DPS schedule.
Yeah.
So we are just confirming that we're still going to be able to have all of our city benefits on that side. So I'm like 90% certain right now that's going to be the date. Give me a week to finalize it. But the other thing that I threw in the chat as well is Denver Days is July 31st through August 8th, I believe. And you get special benefits from the city if your event qualifies as a Denver Days event. So if that was something that you wanted to maybe adjust that volunteer date a week prior, if that's even at all feasible, it may qualify as a Denver Days event.
Thank you, Amanda. Who should I reach out to in order to find this out?
About the Denver Days stuff?
Correct.
So that's the Office of Special Events at the city. And if you just Google Denver Office of Special Events, they'll have all the information about how to register, what kind of supports are available, and all of that on the website. And if you run into any trouble with it or frustrations, just give us a call over at the office and we'll help.
Thanks, Amanda. Are there any other questions for Mo with Sand Creek? Okay. Thanks, Mo. And then we'll keep everyone informed with if anything changes with that event. We'll include that with our community emails. And so now I will turn to Mercy Housing, and we have Ellen Abrams and Erin Pape from Mercy Housing.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Pape, and I'm a support coordinator on the Mercy Housing Mountain Plains Philanthropy team. Thanks for allowing me a couple minutes to talk about some of our current activities that we have in the works. I head up our volunteer opportunities here in Colorado, and we're really excited about 2 events scheduled in the Central Park neighborhood in the next week. First, this Thursday, we are hosting a property cleanup volunteer event at Parkside Apartments from 3 until 6 p.m. We also have a property cleanup on Tuesday, June 22nd at our Bluff Lake Apartments, and that is from 2 until 5 p.m. So during both of these events, volunteers will be pulling weeds, sweeping, washing windows of our community building, and just doing a little spring cleanup to spruce up the landscape of our properties. And if you would like to join us, we'd love to have you register, and I'll drop a link to the sign up registration form in the chat box. But we'd also just appreciate your help to spread the word amongst your Central Park neighbors. And then last but not least, we wanted you to mark your calendars for Mercy Housing Colorado's Volunteer Week, which will run August 2nd through the 6th. This is a week of fun and exciting ways to help support Mercy Housing in the Denver area. And we'll have different activities at all of our properties, including Parkside, which is in Central Park. And this is open for anyone to volunteer at. Most of these of the activities will all be in-person volunteer events, and we'll have a couple virtual drives for those who want to participate from home. But whether it's you, your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, grab a group together, and there'll be some communication coming out soon that I can share with you that will have details on when the events are happening and where, and a description of what the volunteer activities look like. So we hope that we'll see you at one of these upcoming events.
You're muted again, Amanda.
I can do it with my hand and then I just don't look at the red dot when it tells me. Thanks, Brian. So in today's email, we included information about the ongoing effort to just have just an open Amazon list where people can purchase and have things sent directly to the Bluff Lake Apartments, which would also share with the Parkside Apartments. And so that's just a way that the community can have an ongoing opportunity to support and lift the people who live in the income qualified apartments in Central Park. So be sure to look through your email and see that link and keep people supported that way as well. But Erin and Ellen, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll keep revising that Amazon list so that it reflects the current needs of both properties.
Okay.
And I just wanted to give a shout out to Councilman Herndon's office. They're going to be donating 75 reusable bags to our Bluff Lake apartments. So thank you for that. And those will be some items that we add to our list because they'll be in need here pretty soon. So thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay. All right. And so next, thank you, Erin, for putting that in the chat. Are there any questions for our friends with Mercy Housing? Okay. All right. And so next we will have committee updates. So this will just be like a really quick update from a representative from each committee that we have, and then we'll go into public comment and then take a quick break. So first, communication and outreach.
Hopefully everyone got our email blast that went out earlier today with our new edition from the sponsorship side of Deals of the Month. So Brian was really excited about that one, I think it sounded like. If any businesses are interested, we're going to be working on putting together a flyer that we can then take around to community businesses. And focused on, continuing.
Mark, your speaker is cutting in and out a little bit. Is anyone else hearing that kind of coming and going?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Mark, is there anything you can do with the speaker?
I think we'll have to move on, it looks like. I can't hear Amanda either.
Oh, it's me muting myself again. I'm so sorry. Is there anyone else from communication and outreach that can fill in for Mark?
I'll just put in a plug, check the community deals of the month that we started with this CPUN email that went out earlier today. And particularly notice Sholan at the top is doing deals that are a pretty decent deal. And the more we can get people to like Sholan and in the future other places, the more we'll get more businesses interested and the more we'll collect sponsorships. So check those out. It's at the bottom of the email. The idea is to get people to read through the email because they want to get to see what the latest deals of the month are each time. So
Jeff, what is specifically the deal at Sholan right now?
Okay, I might not have this totally correct, but like buy one small bite or one small plate or one small something and get another one free. So, and it's Tuesday through Thursday.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then there was another one from an education organization, I think. What was that deal?
Yeah,
Jeff?
there was a couple. Mindfish Tutoring Test Prep, which is somebody I know, and I wrote him into participating in this, but College Route Map did too, largely because we wanted to get at least 3 businesses. So thanks for the plug.
Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. So diversity and inclusivity.
So, hello. The Diversity and Inclusion Committee will not be meeting this month. We have a number of members who are out of town, celebrating the ability to be out of town. So I did want to update you guys and let you know that we have finalized the questionnaire that we will be polling to the community. So that will go out sometime here in the next couple, 3 weeks. So be looking for that. And that's about it for now.
Thank you, Mandel. Education.
Hi, just to let you know, there is a meeting on Thursday, the 17th at 11:30. And one of the things that we are going to discuss is we want to have a routine meeting time. So at any rate, that's one of the things we're going to address. We're looking for a student member for the education committee. And I think we're going to revisit some of the items that we had put down in terms of goals earlier in the year and take a look at realistically what we need to try to accomplish in 2021. And one of them is to find out what our neighborhood schools need, given the past year and given another various circumstances due to what we've gone through this last year. We'd like to know what students and families need. So we're going to be talking about that. And then I think Jamie's with us, and I asked her earlier if she would speak to the Consumer Literacy Project, which is coming up. And so Jamie, can you say a couple of words about that, please?
Yeah, so the Education Committee and sort of the Sustainability Committee have been doing this garden building project with the Consumption Literacy Project, and it's going to be at Carol's house. And so Carol just built the garden beds, or they'll be built tomorrow. And so we can send an update on having people come and help fill those garden beds. But the Consumption Literacy Project is an education-oriented nonprofit. They work a lot in Montbello with the Montbello Organizing Committee on zero waste. So they they work in the schools and they teach the students how to make their lunch, grow their lunch, eat their lunch, and then at the end of it, compost everything. So you have almost zero waste at the end. And they also teach about how to build soil. So soil that will grow and become richer and richer over time. And so that's what we're going to do in these gardens that are going to be built at Carol's house. And then we'll plant plants that can be harvested from there.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Wow. Carol, thanks for donating the land. Is it in the strip you're on the tree lawn?
Well, that would be the next project, but I decided to, I'm having a gentleman named Ryan Fox is doing 2 raised beds that are being delivered tomorrow, and he's built them, and he and his partner. And so they're going to be actually on our property in between this funky little space that we have and the sidewalk. So there'll be 2 raised beds there, but we have an extended tree lawn because we're a corner lot. And so that's kind of the next project that we need to take a look at because we certainly have the space for it. So fortunately, he said, yeah, we can do everything but the soil. And I said, we don't want you to do the soil. That's part of the project. So it's going to be fun to see what happens. And so it's obvious, it's outside my gate. So anybody can walk by, take a look, and see what's going on.
Thanks, Carol. I see a question in the chat from Gina asking Education Committee, is there a way you can think about weekend food boxes for families who don't have food at home, or set up something with Food Bank of the Rockies for serving breakfast and lunch in the summer months? I have 2 answers to this question before I let you guys answer. So I know that the school that my children attend have a program, a backpack program, where they send kids home with a backpack so that they can continue to have food over weekends, where they typically get their food support from schools. And then there's also similar support for summers for the families who are part of that program. And then many of the schools in DPS offer a breakfast and I think a lunch program over the summer months as well. And so now I'll let Carol and Jamie answer if you have more information.
Jamie may have that from Austin. No, she's shaking her head no, so I'm not sure. Yeah, food. I can find out about Food Bank of the Rockies. And tell me, is it the teller, Amanda, when you talk about the backpacks? Is it?
It's just something that is organized in the school. I don't know if it's part of a wider program.
Let me double check that, because my husband works at Food Bank of the Rockies. And we have a couple friends that are involved in that backpack program. So I can find out.
Yeah, well, with this, it's like people donate the backpacks and parents and people donate the food. It's school specific. It's not through Food Bank of the Rockies. But and it might be something that happens at various schools too. But if there's a program at Food Bank of the Rockies, I would be interested in knowing about that, and that would more directly address Gina's question. And then Brad adds, No Kid Hungry Colorado used to sponsor summer free lunch programs around the city. I'm not sure if they still do. Yeah, that I feel like I would have seen advertising for this summer program by now, and I don't think I've seen it this year, which is strange. But I don't know if that's the same program. But thanks, Brad, for mentioning No Kid Hungry Colorado. Okay. All right, thank you, Education Committee. And then, Michelle Graham writes, almost all Denver Public Libraries, and I missed her earlier comment, which was Denver Public Library also has food and snack programs for kids year round via HDFK grant. I don't know what HDFK stands for. Thanks for recopying it. Healthy food for Denver kids. Okay. Carol, I see you writing. Do you have all of this? Great, thank you. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and then the Urban Farm has a grant to grow food for food pantries through Healthy. I'm going to read the acronym out. Healthy Food for Denver Kids grant last year. Oh, got it. That's why you knew about that. Yeah, indeed. Okay. Thank you, Education Committee. We can watch the chat for any more questions that come up there, and I'll move to the Health and Safety Committee. And I think Jack has emailed that he's not here, but said Gina has the update.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gina.
Sorry, I was late. I'm having a rough week.
Yeah.
But
it's getting a little better.
We want to go over. We sent the letter to Denver Police Department and the City Council in regards to the increase of the shootings in the area. We're waiting on feedback on that. One of the things that we did discuss and put in the letter is to talk about what they call, I'm trying to remember the name. It's where they able to detect where the gunfire is coming from and the police respond rather than people calling 911.
Yeah.
Shot spotter.
Shot spotter. Yeah, I just can't think right now.
Oh, Gina, Councilman Herndon's office called a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that I had emailed follow up about that and said that it's just not possible to do that in this city. So they've responded, and I think that response was on behalf of all of the people to whom the letter was sent.
That's a little strange because I worked on that project in Park Hill. So they do have one in Park Hill. So maybe we can see that letter and respond to it. The other thing is we've begun preliminary discussions on how the committee can engage with stakeholders in and around the community to grow existing or build new programs focused on behavioral health response. And we want to continue to advocate for the provision of resources on housing and other social services directed on the unhoused population, which is going to be happening, I think it's starting now. We're going to have more and more unhoused people at this point.
Okay.
And I think that's it.
Thank you, Gina. Are there any questions for Gina?
Gina, are you talking about the moratorium being lifted?
Yes, and plus landlords are raising the rent from they're gone up 18 to 20% since March. And so there's a lot of people that have become unhoused because of it. My daughter's working on a project right now to do rent control through Together Colorado. So we'll see how that's going to come out.
Okay. All right, thank you. And so then the next committee update that I have is Safe Streets.
Right. There's 3 items that we're focusing on. One is establishing a protocol for reporting unsafe drivers in the community to DPD and DOTI, the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And we have a volunteer on our committee who's not on the board, and she's taking the lead on that. So that's something that we'll have in the next couple of weeks, I think. And I also want to do a shout out to Brad, who's on our board and is on this committee, because he has done a great job of recruiting people. He's tapped into some very enthusiastic neighbors who are part of this committee now, and the numbers are growing, and we really appreciate that. We also are working on collaborating with entities who share our purpose and our goals, like Denver Streets Partnership. And I just saw this, I got it in the mail today on a coupon packet. And it's the back page of a bunch of coupons. It says, we're on the road to safer streets, and it's DSP. So you all may have, this was in my mailbox. So this is exciting because the word is getting out about DSP. And then we're also building relationships with DPD and with DSP and DOTI to achieve safe streets. We've had speakers at our meetings, and they are very supportive. And so we're building relationships to get that work done. And we also encourage our neighbors to join, and another committee member did this. She set up a Facebook page called Northeast Denver Safe Streets. And so there's some great things happening. She's one of the folks on the committee is leading let's see, they're biking to Anschutz, people who work at Anschutz. They're showing people how to bike through the streets, and there's suggestions about using your bikes. And so it's just really exciting. There's some great ideas floating out there. Brad, what have I forgotten that needs to be added?
No, you got a lot, especially the shout out to me. Thank you for saying that your check's in the mail. No, but I think the only other thing I'll say is I think Carol and I have been tossing around the idea with the committee of we've heard from DOTI that the protected bike lane on Central Park Boulevard is supposed to commence construction sometime in the next month or 2. And I know there's others that have been on this board longer than I have that have been involved in that, and the community feedback for that. But I think we want to try and find some way to celebrate that as sort of great protected bike infrastructure going into our community to make it safer to bike in our neighborhood. So we'll stay tuned for any updates on something, but I'd love to find some way to celebrate and do something in person to celebrate that construction starting.
Thank you, Brad.
Great, thanks both of you. And then last committee update, sustainability.
Everybody, so I'll be real quick here because you heard about some of the stuff we're already working on. The one thing I'd like to add is a really exciting project, which is we're working with CU Denver to map the fruit trees in Central Park, so that as a community building activity and as an educational opportunity, people can participate in a harvest walk of sorts this fall. If you're interested in that kind of work, we'd love to connect with you. If you're interested in perhaps volunteering a tree that's either on your tree lawn or on the front portion of your property line, please connect with us at Central Park United Neighbors.com. You can find our committee information there. And one thing on behalf of all of the committees, just to reiterate for everyone that might not be familiar, all of our committees are open to the public. Any resident that's interested in joining and participating is more than welcome to do so.
I'm just gonna add one thing, not just fruiting trees, but fruiting plants. So blackberry bushes, raspberry bushes.
Yes,
if you want to volunteer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. And then as noted at the bottom of the slide, we do have an open CFUN board seat, but like Jeff just said, you don't have to be a member of the board to work on our committees. And that's something we hope that everyone in the neighborhood feels welcome to do. And we've talked a little bit about Denver Days. And I don't, is there, just to kind of give an overview of what that is, we just want to announce Denver Days as a city-sponsored event that spans July 31st to August 8th. It's usually about around that window. And in this community, we encourage people to host block parties that day. The MCA waives fees for events that are for block parties that are hosted in MCA managed park spaces during that time. And we'll talk a little bit more during the board meeting about what else we might be doing during those days. All right, next slide, please, Brian. I think it's public comment. My chat box is in the way. Yeah, public comment.
Amanda,
Is there?
Susan's got her hand raised.
Oh, great. Hi, Susan.
Hi, my name is Susan Aruda. I live in the Beeler Park North End, part of Denver, and we've lived here for about 2 years. And to be very honest with you, this is the first time I knew that this organization had meetings. I think you guys need to make this a little more public. And I also speak for some of my neighbors who have no idea what this is. A lot of us are from, not from Colorado, we're from other places. And a lot of the things that you've talked about, we have a lot of issues out here and we're not getting a whole lot of response. I'm also the person who you mentioned in your thing about talking with Brookfield about our parklands and stuff. First of all, in the 2 years I've lived here, I've never seen a police officer. And we have a lot of people who speed up and down our streets. There are no speed limits on our signs. So that's a big issue with the people who live here. There's going to be 2,500 homes in the North End Beeler Park area. And if you want to go out and make a left turn onto 56th Street, good luck, because the traffic light on the corner allows one car to go through. That's another big issue. I heard from our somebody, a public official, that, well, the parents in the school didn't want the traffic light long, and that's really dumb. So I think you need to reach out to those of us in this new area, because there's a lot of things that need to be done out here, and it's a lovely place and we have nice neighbors and all, but the streets are, hard to get out of here and other things like that.
Susan, what's the best way of reaching you and your neighbors?
What's the best way of reaching me and my neighbors?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I have no idea. I mean, the people that honestly don't, I sent the information when I got it this morning to one of my neighbors, which was another thing. I mean, if you're gonna have a meeting, don't do it. Don't send a notice out the day of. So I sent it to one of my neighbors and she said, "What's that?"
Okay, well, I'm glad we've gotten a footprint in through connecting.
The MCA is, and we know what our little, mini thing is that takes care of our grass and stuff, but
well, thank you for joining us for the meeting tonight so that you can bring the word of the organization back to your neighbors and help communicate back what we are.
The magazine that comes out, or the publication comes out once a month, it's as if our little neighborhood doesn't even exist because there's no map or anything. And,
are you talking about the Front Porch newspaper?
Mm-hmm.
That's a privately produced.
They haven't said, well, when they finish the houses, we might put this thing in. I mean, we've had homeless people out here who've come knocking on the door. Where's the cops?
Have you
in the street?
So frequently, if the when neighbors report crime more frequently, that increases the patrol in the area. Have you and your neighbors not had success when contacting the police, or it's just that you haven't seen
contacting the police? True. There have been cars parked out here. There was a car parked on my street for 1.5 years with expired plates from a different state. We called the police and they said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about it." We have travel trailers that have been parked out here for weeks and weeks. Nothing they can do about
it.
Susan,
Amanda
sorry.
Schultz is going to say a few things.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just going to introduce myself, which my apologies, I failed to do that before. My name is Amanda Schultz. I work for Councilman Chris Herndon, who is your Denver City Council rep for all of the Central
Talked
Park
to Leah
neighborhood.
in your office. I've talked to Leah. Leah?
Okay, good. Yeah. Her name is Leah.
Yeah.
If you were not happy with the level of service that you got with our office, I will put my contact information in the chat. Please contact me directly because that's something that I would like to be able to resolve. But also please feel free to share our phone number, our office phone number with your neighbors. We're happy to help with all of those things. We understand that it can be really confusing to navigate the many different agencies and figure out who's responsible for what, because some of those things you mentioned are actually totally different agencies, and we would never expect you to know that it's actually the sheriffs who deal with abandoned cars instead of the police department. We're happy to help figure that out.
We've called them.
So please give me a call. I'm happy to work with you personally, like I said, if you weren't happy with the level of service that you got, but those are things that we can absolutely help with.
But you understand what I'm saying is if the people do not know about this organization, then
I do. And I actually am hopeful that you can help us with that because I think you're really the subject matter expert. You know best how we can reach you and your neighbors. If we're not doing a good job of it, then I absolutely would look to you for your suggestions and ideas. You know your neighborhood better than anyone. So if you have suggestions about how we can do that, I would love to hear that.
sure, I will call you tomorrow if you send me your contact information.
Great. And Susan,
Absolutely.
I hope that you're signed up, and please encourage your neighbors to sign up on our website for our bi-monthly email. So we send to
There are 2,000 homes in this community that are going to be built. 2,000 homes.
Right. So if I just want to make sure that that you hear what I'm saying is that if you can sign up for emails from our community, from our organization, we send emails once every 2 weeks or so, and that always has the list of upcoming meetings. So we did send one out today to be sure that it was fresh on people's radar, but this meeting notification did go out on our email 2 weeks ago. And so every 2 weeks we send an email with a link.
That, but do you understand what I'm saying is that there are new people here who are coming from other places. I mean, we're from the East Coast, for example. Nobody knows anything about this. They know about the MCA because we pay money to them every month.
Right, and we are a volunteer
And
organization.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but you have 2,000 potential people who can work on this organization, but they won't do that if they don't know that it's there. Okay.
Right. So I appreciate your help in getting the word out, and we always do the best we can in contacting with people. And it's been just tricky this past year, especially with no in-person events. So everything has been electronic, and so that's been different than what we've been able to do in the past.
So Amanda, Shalice has her hand raised.
Great, Shalice, and I see Heather as well. So let's turn to Shalice.
Hey everyone, how are you this evening? One of the suggestions I was going to make in terms of getting the word out is I know a lot of people attend the farmers market in Park Hill, the one off of Oneida. I see that being talked about a lot on Facebook, and also just the MCA farmers market that they do once a week. And so I know in the past I brought up the idea of seeing if maybe you could set up a table for a few hours at each of those events and maybe just hand out flyers or just kind of let the neighbors know who you are, what you are, and you know what services you can help them with. And then that will also give them a way to learn about the different committees. Another thing is I couldn't find my CPUN email in my email this morning, and when I went to the CPUN's page on Facebook, the meeting information was not posted. So I don't know how often you update that, but that would also be another way to let people know, because when you do make posts on Facebook, if people are following you, it will give them the notification.
That is true. Thank you, Shalice. I think it wasn't until later in the day that that we got that posted today. So
by the way, Baylor Park and the North End are having some sort of a community something or other in 2 weeks, in a week. I think it's on the 26th, and Shalice knows about that. And that's a great place for you to come and present something.
It's the annual North End picnic that they do off of 60th Avenue in between Brewer Park and North End, where they open all the model homes and they have the food trucks, the music, the face painting.
All right. And who organizes that?
To my knowledge, I think Brookfield does, along with the builders. We have our delegate meeting tomorrow. I'll bring that up and I'll get that information over to you.
Great, thanks. And sometimes we have piggybacked on MCA emails to communicate with the community as well. So if you're getting emails from the MCA, then you're frequently seeing information from CPUN too that's nested inside of that. But it's just not an ongoing opportunity that we always exercise. Okay, and Heather Vasquez.
Hey everyone. So Susan, I just want to start off by saying I feel you. My husband and I are from Los Angeles, and the traffic, the way the streets were set up in the neighborhood, I guess for people who are from bigger cities, it's for us, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And I guess I've actually contacted the city to talk to them about that stuff. Actually, Amanda, I contacted Herndon's office as well. I didn't get very much help. I actually spoke with him directly. I didn't get very much help from him. And so I think for me, Susan, what I'd like to do is I want to run for the board. I want to be a part of this organization because I want to help make this community better. So to everyone who's on the chat right now, I'm Heather Vasquez. Like I said, from Los Angeles. We've been here since 2016. We love it. We live on Central Park Boulevard in between 29th Avenue and MLK, right next to actually Filing 51, the 286 apartment complex that's going to be going up right across the way from us. And so, yeah, there's going to be traffic issues, and I want to be a voice for the neighbors who have these particular issues, who feel like they're not getting anywhere with maybe the city or whoever. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say. I just wanted to introduce myself, and yeah, so hey.
Heather, which board are you interested in running for?
The CPUN position that's open right now.
Okay, thanks.
And your current, do I remember correctly that you are an MCA delegate already, Heather?
Yeah, I'm District 2 delegate, and I'm the president of the Stapleton Row Home HOA.
Okay, thank you. All right, and so that concludes public comment tonight. Since we're running a little bit behind schedule, I propose that we just avoid the break and go right into the board meeting, which I will start now. And so the first item on the agenda are the elections. So for the executive positions on the CPUN board, it's currently seated as I've been serving as the president, Jeff Horsfall as the vice president, Brian Penny is the treasurer, Mark Maringer is the secretary. So of the current board members, would anyone like to, I'd like to nominate Jeff Horsfall for president. Is there anyone else who is interested in the position?
Hey, Amanda, I thought we were going to just do a slate.
Oh, a slate.
So.
Okay, I'll go down the road then. I'd like to nominate Jeff Horsfall for president, Carol Hunter for vice president, Brian Penny remaining as treasurer, and Mark Maringer as secretary. Is there anyone else who's interested in any one of those seats that we should pause and discuss?
And as a member of that slate, I'd just like to lobby for the idea that if anybody else wants to be secretary, I'm more than willing to step aside.
I think we should nominate Mark to be secretary for life.
All right, who needs to second this? Does it need to be someone that's not me and someone that's not listed?
It could be anybody, Amanda. I'll
second it.
I'll second.
Great. Are there any nay votes? All right, we have new officers. I will pass this over to Jeff Horsfall to carry out the rest of the meeting. Jeff Horsfall, president.
Hi, everybody. What's that?
We had the slide and I forgot to click it. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Most of you should, I believe, know me, but for those of you that don't, I'm Jeff Horsfall, and I've lived in Conservatory Green since 2015 with my wife and our two daughters who attend elementary school in the neighborhood. I've been on the board of Central Park United Neighbors since 2017 and have served as vice president for about 3 years or so. I've also been a member of the Sustainability Committee, Education Committee, and Outreach Committee. Being a part of this board has led me to some really deeply meaningful, fulfilling experiences, and I'm really honored to serve as the next president. But I really want to take just a minute, if it's okay with the rest of the board, though, to talk a little bit about my predecessor, Amanda Alshouse. When I first joined the board and was trying to sort of figure out what's up from down, I was immediately struck by Amanda's command of information, like names, acronyms, legislation, what someone said at some meeting this one time. Like Amanda seemed to know all of it. And I didn't really know how she managed to do it. But over time, I realized that the answer is pretty simple. One is that she just works tirelessly. I have timestamps on emails to prove it. 2, she is passionate about community service. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find many residents who have given more of themselves to this community than Amanda Alshouse has. On top of being a dedicated mother and spouse, as well as an accomplished researcher, Amanda has served on this board for 12 of 17 years, and for the last 5 years, she's been our president, the first female president in this board's history, and the president with the most consecutive terms in the position. During my time on the board, I have watched her navigate challenges and lead us through difficulties with only grace and empathy and integrity. I have endless respect and gratitude for Amanda. And as a board, I think we should thank our lucky stars that she's going to continue to be an active member. As a community, Central Park should know that it's better for having Amanda as one of our neighbors. So I just want to say, Amanda, thank you for your friendship, for your service, and for being an example for my daughters.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Well put.
With that, thank you. With that, we'll move on to the next portion of our meeting, which is committees. Obviously, we're quite a bit behind schedule. So I'll try to move through this as quickly as we can. We're trying to get back to normal here, and that means taking a summer break in July for the purpose of committee planning, so that when we all come back in August, we have our committees planned and we're ready to roll. So I think the first thing I want to do is just run through the committees and the chairs, as well as make sure that we have all the same membership for those committees. In the interest of time, because we typically don't see a lot of turnover at this, what I'd like to suggest is that I circulate a sign-up sheet where everyone can just add their names to the committees. I've tried my best to fill it out where I know who the current members are, but please do take a look at that committee sheet and sign up. It's really important that we spend that July time away from this board meeting and put it towards our respective committees. That's when, for our newer board members, historically, and what we'd like to get back to is when we do these are the things we want to accomplish in our board year type of planning. So events, programming, etc. In addition, there's a few suggestions I'd like to make to the committees, though, as part of your planning. One is that we are going to try to launch another community survey. It's been a couple of years. And so I think the request of the committees will be any questions that you want to have included in that survey. it can be as many or as few as you might have. I think part of what we're going to have to do is figure out what the size of the block of clay is when everyone turns in their questions, and figure out how we can streamline it to something that's manageable for the community. Another thing that we want to try to do is a little bit of a reorganization of our outreach meeting responsibilities. We used to do this and kind of got away from it, but I found it really helpful, where committees were responsible for planning at least one outreach meeting per year. So that mostly entails identifying a guest speaker or a special presentation of some kind that's representative of your committee's topic to bring to the committee, to bring to the outreach portion of the board as well. So try thinking about one of those, at least one, maybe two of those per year. And just a couple of other quick ones, and I can provide you with an example of what sustainability is put together, but a communications calendar. We've seen, as we heard from a resident this evening, and we've all acknowledged internally, that communication and outreach continue to be our board's biggest challenge. And so figuring out kind of a systematic way to communicate both frequently and in a way that makes it easier for everybody, all of us being volunteers, to do this in a sustainable way, I'd like to encourage as well. And then the last thing, and it's something that I was really struck by in some of our planning conversations in February and March, was any local groups that that might be relevant to your committee's activities. It shouldn't be on just this organization to come up with all the programming and events when there's plenty of groups that are doing really good stuff out in the neighborhood. I always like to cite my daughter's elementary school's green team as a good example. One of the things we'd like to do is pull together a real quality bank of these sorts of groups that we can share to the community, so that people have lots of ways to get involved in their areas of passion. So sorry to run through that like that, but in addition to the normal kind of planning years, I just wanted to put in a request that our committees consider those options as well. Is everyone okay with us kind of moving through this committee assignments piece, knowing that I'll kind of circulate an email to everybody to sign up for your committees and your outreach meetings and that kind of stuff? Anything that anyone wants to talk about there?
Just in case there's anyone who's not on the board who is on the meeting who is interested in joining a committee, I think I'd want to give them a chance to connect right now, maybe with someone who since we just went through the committees. I wouldn't want to lose someone who joined the meeting to talk about committees in that circulation.
Sorry, say that again.
If we're circulating the document internally, which I fully support, and I think it's a great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I just wouldn't want to lose someone who's on this meeting to join a committee or learn more.
Oh, of course. Yeah. If someone doesn't mind capturing the email or the contact information of anyone that's on the call that might be interested, I'd be happy to add them to that distribution.
That'll do it.
Okay. Thank you. And to that end, the other thing I want to ask a little about, ask this group is, are there organizations outside of CPUN that you're participating in, either as a representative of CPUN or independent of, but that might be a potential asset to the organization at some point? The ones that immediately came to mind are, I know Carol attends the INC meetings, Amanda attends what is the current iteration of ZAP, I suppose.
Thanks for mentioning that about INC. I'm the delegate from this group for the INC. And Brad, why don't you share some of the things that you do?
Yeah, so I'm on the mayor's pedestrian advisory committee. So that figures mostly into some of our safe streets work. And then related and nearby, but not directly related to what we do here at CPUN. I'm also going to be on a steering committee for the future of East Colfax, but obviously they're sort of our neighbors right to the south of us. So just a couple of other areas too that might be pertinent.
Great. Thanks, Brad. I'll add a column or a tab to what I circulate so that people can add things like this as well. Carol, since we're here, is there anything on INC that's worth bringing up here now?
Thanks for asking. The last meeting was on Saturday, the 12th, and it was devoted to a panel that was about SOS. Oh God, I just completely.
Safe outdoor space.
Thank you. And it was a fabulous panel. And it was very diverse in terms of representation. There were about 7 people, and they talked about, in fact, the president of the Capitol Hill Rhino was on the panel, and he spoke about the 2 SOS setups that were down in Capitol Hill and what they learned. And now it's over at, I think it's the Denver Community Church, Methodist Church in Park Hill. And so that has opened up. And it was inspiring, it was informative. And one of the things that I walked away from was really being inspired about being on this board and being a member of a registered neighborhood organization, and really what registered the values that they talked about and what we can do for our community, not just Central Park community, but every community in Denver, and the commitments we can make and how we can help our neighbors, all of our neighbors. They recorded it and it will be on their website, the INC website, and then it will be on YouTube as well. So when I find that out, I will send the board the link. And it probably should just go on the website as well. It's 2 hours long, and I know that's a long time. Of course, you can speed it up, and do what you want to do selectively. But it was really one of the best Zoom meetings I've ever been to. And just in terms of information, it was really quite wonderful. So it was inspiring, informative, and it's what we need to be doing. It's the kind of thing we need to be doing. So thanks for asking, Jeff.
Yeah, no, thank you, Carol. I appreciate all the time you dedicate to that organization on behalf of ours. If you can share those links or collect that information, I'm sure that we can find more than one place for it to put it out there for everybody to take a look at. Thank you. Brian, I think you can actually skip that one because that was about that. About the organization, excuse me, the next one. Oh, I want the, sorry, the suggested meeting changes. Yeah, there we go, sorry, thank you. So you might have gathered from all of my emphasis on committees in my little opening bit there, that's one of the things that I really took from our strategic planning sessions in February and March, that the best advocates or the best diplomats this organization have often are committees. That's where we can make really strong connections with the community outside of this board meeting. And so part of why I want to try to get back to those outreach meetings that emphasize our committees, part of why I'm stressing communication schedules and that kind of stuff is so that we can elevate all of the good work that all of the people on this board are doing every day. And I'd like to suggest a couple of changes, and this is just for discussion. We can try it out, we can monkey with it, whatever you think. But that again, elevate the committees in terms of the community's visibility into the work that we're doing. So a thought that I had was that our outreach meeting might be reoriented a little bit such that the first 20 minutes or so are dedicated to a version of what we heard from committees tonight. A quick highlights, here's how you can participate in what we're doing type of update for the committee, and then move on to our community partner updates and our guest speakers that would be assigned to each committee. I appreciate that there's some that makes some asks of our community partners, and that's something that I'd be reaching out to them to address. But I think it's in the best interests of all the good work that we're doing that we just put a little bit more visibility in this meeting on that topic. That would just quickly be followed by our regular board meeting, where anything that the board at large can help our committees with as far as moving the ball forward, we address that quickly and then move on to regular board business after that. It's best laid plans, right? We see how quickly schedules go off the rails, but and that's okay. But I like this approach to again elevating all of the good work that this board's doing every day. What are people's thoughts or concerns or questions about what this might do to our meetings?
I really like it. I think it'll be a good way to engage people in what's happening in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I also like it, Jeff. I think it's a good idea. It makes a lot of sense. The only thing I guess, given what we heard today from kind of feedback from the community, we might want to put 5 minutes in for just community members to
like a public, maintaining the public comment.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that was just an oversight on my part. That should absolutely stay in there.
Other than that, it looks really good.
Like I said, we can give it a try, see how it works. Nothing about this is carved in stone. But I'd like to come to the August meeting with this as the plan, unless, again, others have any concerns about it.
Yeah, I started speaking, but I wasn't.
Oh, sorry, Mandel, I'm sorry.
No, that was my fault. I'm definitely in support of this. I talked, actually Jamie and I had talked about the structure of the meeting, and this kind of follows some of the idea behind putting the community first. And I think this is an excellent structure here. And I definitely agree with having the community to be able to speak up and participate. I think we lost some of that going offline, or I guess going online with the pandemic. So I like it.
Cool, thanks. Well, let's give it a shot and see how it goes, and we can adjust if we need to. The next slide is the communication changes, something that I'd like to propose as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll circulate what sustainability would like to try to achieve as far as a regular pattern of communications from its committee. But I think the common denominator that we all have are these twice a month board emails that Mark heroically organizes because it's not easy to push those things out. I think out of respect to him and his time, and for the benefit of the community, really trying to commit to a regular schedule by which committees can provide Mark with the information that he needs as secretary to push those communications out would be helpful. This is that, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. There is a slide, if you don't mind switching. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So we're doing these 2 emails a month, and this just assigns a due date by which we would want to turn in those updates. It can feel like a lot of writing to put these things together, but what I've found is that there's not a tremendous amount of difference between what goes in the first email and what goes in the second email. And if you're communicating with your committee audience already, it's very easy to kind of copy and paste. It's really just more of a request that for the sake of getting those emails out in a timely fashion, that everyone try to honor a schedule that looks like this. And what it might beg is the recreation or resurrection of a CPUN calendar that we can set up in Google and just everybody shares. And that way you just have those necessary reminders to when you need to get something turned in to Mark.
Can I just add one note about this schedule?
Yeah.
To make this functional and work and not have too many situations where the email's going out a few hours before our meeting, if I don't get something, I'll just have to leave out the committee entirely if I don't get it by that date. So please set an internal goal or whatever of a day or two before that to make sure you have everything worked out. And B, please don't get mad at me if I have to not include you in an email because I didn't get the stuff in time, because like I have, work and family commitments that I have to do too. And like I tried to do this schedule for this last week and it just didn't work out to get everything out on time. And then there were some mistakes in it about meeting times and stuff like that, because I try to get as much of it as done in advance as I can, because it takes a little time to edit everything. So please be patient with me and please try to get stuff in early.
About this last email, it was really nice to see some of like the longer committee updates that were written in there. And so as I was just going through the content, I felt so informed for some committees, and then others I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening there. So I think more consistency across committee updates would also be really nice to see. But I think that's kind of what Mark's getting at, that there were things that he just didn't get and had to leave out.
Does that feel doable for people? Does that feel like too much?
I think it's not too much. I think it's also just really important from an engagement perspective for the people that read these emails to see what are our committees doing and how could they get involved too. So I hope we can all make that commitment, because I think that's super helpful.
Yeah, I hope that's the theme that you hear in all of these things that I'm raising, is giving people opportunities, right? That's what we're here for. The other thing I really just want to compliment this board on with these emails is the fundraising piece, the sponsorship piece, the deals of the month. That's fantastic. And congratulations to Jeff and both Jeffs and to Mark, who've done a lot of work to put that together. I think that'll generate a lot of interest and attention for our emails and for those businesses as well. I think it's shaping up really well. Great. This group usually has more to say about this stuff.
About these deadlines, should it, like those sub bullets, is it the Thursday before the second Monday?
Yeah, I know. It's super annoying. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes.
But it's okay. So it's not, yes.
It's like, so if it's going out on the second Monday, it would come out the Thursday before that.
Okay.
And I'll try to send out reminder emails of like, hey, please get it out, get it to me soon.
What about a calendar? Brian, you said that we used to have a CPUN calendar and then it just sort of got abandoned at some point. I don't remember.
So I mean, it's just a Google Calendar. So I mean, it is there, and we can reinstitute. The problem is we can't link that calendar to the website anymore. It used to be a calendar on the website. So
yeah, I was thinking more of a calendar for the board, just to keep reminders or let the
But that's effectively a Google Calendar under the Central Park United Neighbors at gmail.com. So
would that be helpful to people to have a calendar like that, or would it just kind of be clogging up your mail app?
I am currently subscribed to that calendar.
Oh, are you?
You can subscribe to that calendar.
And it shows the CAB meetings on Thursdays. Westerly Creek and Park.
Yeah, it has not been updated in a long time, Amanda.
Yeah, I don't know how current this stuff is.
But we did, I would say it's probably been 2 years since we verified those meetings were happening, so pre-pandemic.
Okay. Well, let me explore that with the outreach committee. Or maybe it's sort of an exec committee thing to try to organize a calendar, and just, again, we can experiment and see if it's helpful to people. I'll try to make that part of my summer to-do list.
And Jeff, I can't do it right now because but I'll make sure that I share it with all the board, and then if people want to subscribe to it, they can.
Great, thanks. Okay. I think we can get at least one more thing in here. A bylaw proposal that I'd like to make and I'd like to lead. The goal of this bylaw proposal would be to make former president an officer position. This is a pretty common practice. My wife works for a brain injury nonprofit, and they utilize it. I know many nonprofits do. Its benefits are numerous. I think the continuity that it can provide is really important. It creates an extra spot on that exec committee so that newer people to the organization have an opportunity to take on a leadership role. And it keeps former presidents engaged in a way that historically, by the sounds of things, usually when a president leaves, they leave, like they don't come back to the board. I'm really glad that that's not going to be Amanda, but
except Mark.
Yeah, although he did resign immediately after stepping down as president.
Yeah.
Other times, but he's back on the board, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think having someone like Amanda, and this is not specifically catering to Amanda, but I think everyone can imagine the benefit of having someone like Amanda on the exec committee in a former president capacity. Her just wealth of knowledge and background on all of this stuff is really important to maintaining as I said, the continuity of the organization. So I'd like to propose a bylaw change that would go through our normal bylaw process, need 100 signatures, 30-day vote, all of that kind of stuff. Nothing's different about that because the bylaw change is coming from a board member. But I think, Brian, if you don't mind going to the next slide, the change itself would be as simple as a couple of modifications that you see in Article 5 there, and you can get a sense of the language. I think the most important piece of the language that we can discuss is the tangible aspect of it really is that it would be no more than one president at a time, former president at a time. So like our officers were just elected, this would be elected in that exact same way. What do people think about this idea?
Is it for a one-year term, or is it for just sort of until another former president takes over the role?
It would be a one-year term, so it would go through the same election process that all the officers do every other year.
So potential for renewal to be a former president.
And replacement if,
Yes.
if Amanda went rogue or something, we could replace her with Mark, and then someone could become secretary, right?
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
And Jeff, the only thing I pointed out, and I just want to make sure that we address it, is should we make this position, like, does there have to be a former president? Or if no one fills that, if no person that has been a former president is available to serve in this role, the position can go vacant. I think that would be a clarification that probably needs to be made.
Yeah, I think that's a good clarification. That's what I would propose, is that it would just be vacant. Yeah.
And given that that's different than the other officers, we could probably just put it in as a second sentence in the new section 10.
Yeah.
So I have one comment to make that I don't think it doesn't need to be reflected in any changes in the language or anything like that. But, and I'm speaking for myself, not the other former president on the call or the meeting. But the one thing to keep in mind is that I think there's a high potential for burnout in the role of president. So I think everyone should keep in mind that at the very least, the former president in that role would need a little bit of a, whatever the opposite of a honeymoon period is, or something like that. a little quiet time to not feel like they're still in the middle of all of it. So yes, sabbatical. I think sabbatical is too much of too strong of a word of they disappear, because we're trying to avoid that. But I would just ask everyone to be thoughtful of the fact that the president's role can be quite time consuming, well beyond what you see in the board meetings.
Could be a leave of absence or a vacation period.
Yeah. I'm not hearing any objection or concern. Can I take that as okay to?
I'll just add in that we've also, when I was on the faculty at Anschutz, that was the structure of our faculty body, that there was always like an incoming president, a serving president, and an outgoing president, and that actually just like rotated more regularly. But I think, well, it's just a different situation, but I think it is a typical structure, and I support it being a change here.
If that's okay with everybody, then I'd like to try to accomplish this as part of the summer break as well, so that we can post it for the 30-day notice shortly after we get back to work here in August. So
And Jeff, don't we have to have the petition and then?
Yes. When I say get to work on it, I mean collect signatures.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will, of course, circulate the final language that would go on that petition to the board for everyone's sign off before I do that.
So Amanda, we might want to reach out to Steve and see if we could use his SurveyMonkey tool one last time.
No, we can use, we're planning to, I mean, I don't know how
Or
soon.
we could do, do the survey, tool, or even vertical response. We could do a survey and get people.
We can use INC's survey tool.
Oh, that's right.
And Jeff just talked about having a board survey or an organizational survey. I don't know how close we are to that happening, if this could just be part of that, or if it should just be a separate effort. Maybe it should be a separate effort. But
I'd like to make a separate effort, only because that survey can be cumbersome as it is, and just finding a way to keep it as trim as possible would be.
It wouldn't be hard to incorporate this into the Nation Builder tool. This isn't something that's particularly hard to do.
Yeah.
Okay, but for whenever we do need SurveyMonkey, we should use INC's copy. We don't need to reach back out to Steve.
Great. I have two more topics that I wanted to go through. Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about the budget first?
Yeah, I'll circulate this around to the board. We for the past probably year or two have not had a formal budget because we didn't have programs. This was just a proposal that was thrown out there, but this should also be part of your homework assignment from the committees, that if any committees would need any funding, aside from the obvious funding that we have for Nation Builder, we should get this as part of the budget and then approve our budget in August at our meeting. Amanda, I don't know if you have the verification from Brian Weber. I wasn't sure if it was $3,500 again from the foundation, or if we were expecting anything else. I was optimistic in this, but I think we should only expect $3,500 from the foundation next year, if I'm correct.
It's whatever the expense is from Nation Builder, we just need to invoice them for it. So they'll cover
Okay.
the Nation Builder expense, whatever that is. And
Okay.
I know it like changes a little bit based on what the email, number of emails we're sending, like how large our email list is. So
Okay. Okay.
he said that they would. pay for it.
I'll just create it in the spreadsheet and just have them be offsetting. The other thing is that we were a little probably conservative in the fundraising, according to Mark and Jeff Ederer. But if you notice, when we get down, what we're trying to do is not eat into our reserves and build up enough of an additional reserve so that what we have said is we'll get the funding for the 2022 Nation Builder from the foundation, but then in the 2021 year, we should have raised enough money so that we would be able to pay Nation Builder in 2023. So that's the plan that we're going on. But I would also encourage committees that if they have ideas or things that they want us to put in the budget, that they just reach out. So I'll just send this out in the form of an email, Jeff.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions about the budget for Brian?
I just want to clarify, if a committee wants to add an expenditure item or something like that, we can, propose something for August, right?
Yeah, no, just send it to me and I will include it in what we send out for approval in August.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Okay. And we're just about at time. One last thing is Denver Days. Gina had raised the question of whether or not we want to organize any formal participation, either as a host or promoting events, something like that. I know Mark has a very specific idea about it, but I wanted to ask Gina first if she had any ideas in mind, or if it was more sort of a general inquiry.
Just a few, because this will be a way to bring the community together, to let them know that we are here. We can introduce ourselves, set up tables. I wasn't sure where we can have it, where the community can come out to meet us, but we can do like hamburgers and hot dogs, something for the kids, a little kids station where people can come and the kids can have face painting, balloons where they can make balloons, or a petting zoo. Those are just a few things I was thinking about, but it's just something so that people can come out, and we'll have like a little small stage to introduce ourselves and what each committee does.
Sure. So that might fit in well with what Mark has in mind. I know the Sustainability Committee is interested in organizing something not unlike what you just described, but Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about what you had planned or had in mind?
Yeah, I was hoping to revive an idea that I think it actually would work really well with what Gina just said of it's like a clubs and organizations and groups sort of fair that we had tried to do a few years ago and then ran into some hurdles along the way. But I think would be, a good fit for Denver Days, which essentially is to reach out to a lot of the smaller groups and organizations that are out there and invite them to have a table in our event. And then let the community know that we're going to do it, and then have something as well similar to what Gina has. So was saying, so like have, a chance for everybody to introduce themselves, but also like a table for each committee, a table for any clubs that want to come, something like that. And I was envisioning potentially doing it possibly the Saturday morning of the 7th, since it's in August, and possibly doing it at the Pavilion in Central Park. So you guys know there's a building right by the playground there that most of the time I feel like is empty and stuff. So I'm still sort of figuring out if anybody else is doing anything there, but I feel like a, community-wide event there might be a good thing to have as an annual event. That's kind of what I was thinking of.
And Mark, one of the things I was thinking about also is RTD can sponsor it as well. So as to get the light rail and everything back up and going. What do you think, Brad and Carol?
I don't have any thoughts. I don't know if that might be a question for Ignacio, who's on our committee, if he knows anything about that, or just whoever their community engagement people are, but nothing off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. But Ignacio was the first person I thought of.
I work with the vice president very closely on some things with RTD, as well as their, I'm trying to think of the word. But they're the ones who does all of the advertising and stuff. I can't think of the word right now. But I've been working real close with them on another project. So I can talk to them when I'm in my next meeting with them.
I think it could be great to have all the community partners invited as well. And if anybody's got funds to help sponsor things, that'd be great.
Gina, do you want maybe not as a full-time member, but maybe join with Mark on the sustainability committee and in organizing the event?
I can do that. If Mark will have me.
Oh, definitely. I would enthusiastically say yes and love to have you on it or help with that.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark. I think you've got a green light there to go for it. Let's see. So I think I have a couple last things to say at the end here, but are there other topics? I know we're a few minutes over.
I wanted to ask one question. Was there ever a CPUN gathering organized?
There was not.
Okay.
It did not happen. We did not, of the scheduling information that we got, we did not get a couple of key people, namely Rick, to respond. And then there's wasn't good, I don't know, overlap of availability. Sorry for dropping that.
It's vacation season.
Yeah.
We should fix that though. I think it's not a topic for now, but perhaps considering going back to in-person meetings or perhaps hybrid meetings once we have a bit more information about Central Park Rec Center and what their situation is going to be is probably a good topic. And then I would just like to see all of you and hang out and have fun too. That'd be nice.
Well, then everybody save the date for August 7th and we'll figure out the time and I'll set that aside.
Right. Yeah, well, that's another thing that's been on my summer radar is that very thing. So hopefully we can have some updates for everybody in August.
And hey, Jeff, I would just also say that we need to, I like the hybrid idea because I think that we should try to, somehow when we go into the rec center, figure out a way to broadcast the meeting, because I think it does help residents to be able to have the recordings and everything. So. Yeah,
I agree. And I think Mandel's made that point well in the past also. We had how would you describe it, Jamie, at happy hour today? It went okay. We did like a little hybrid thing with our friends at CU Denver. The music was a little loud in there, but I think it can be done.
I mean, if it was a venue without music, it would be better.
Yeah.
I think maybe our board member that has some audio-visual experience might be able to help with
that. Anything else before I just wrap it up quick?
I just want to bring up again, if we're talking now about changing bylaws and sort of reorganizing things and we have a seat open, I want to go back to the idea of figuring out how to open up board seats or more participation from the residents on the Aurora side.
Yeah, sure. That's been on my radar too. What I'd like to do, Jamie, is just have some time to do some diligence there and figure out a little bit more about the lay of the land. Talk about it with the exec committee only in terms of how do we best organize and present this to the board at large, and kind of go from there. But that's not. But that is something I'm interested in resolving as well. Thank you. So the last two things, I want to thank Heather for joining us and for her interest in the board. Is she still with us? Yes, she is. Heather, please, I encourage you to email me, and I'll include my email here in the chat so that you can contact me directly. I know I've been copied on email exchanges with you and Amanda and others, but look forward to learning more about your interest in the board. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And then the last thing I want to say is just a congratulations and a thank you to Carol for taking on my old gig. Carol has been an active, passionate, engaged member of this board for quite a while now, a couple of years. And I know she's going to be a tremendous asset to the organization in this new role, as well as ongoing with all the committee work that she's doing. So Carol, thank you. And congratulations.
You really set me up there, Jeff. Thanks. My pleasure.
Well, everybody have a great summer break. I look forward to hearing about everybody's plans when we reconvene in August. Yeah, have a good summer and a good night.
Thanks, y'all.